Surviving Reality contains explicit content full of snark and sarcasm that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Surviving Reality.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Carly, and we're back with Trainwreck Poop Cruise.
Poop Cruise. It's upon us. This is the reason why me and Carly don't go on cruises. Probably, right? We saw enough of this in the news. It's kind of deterred us. Deterred. Get ready. There's going to be a bunch of poop puns.
It's one of a growing list of reasons why I think a cruise looks really fun in theory, but in practice, not so much.
There's general concerns about cruises that I have for the most part. Carnival's kind of known as that's usually the party line too, because there's different cruise lines, and then the recommendations that people have, you got kind of a different crowd depending on which line you're going with.
I gotta tell you, I'm afraid to even address this because there are people who feel very, very strongly about cruise lines that they like or dislike.
There's a loyalty that's there, a fierce loyalty. But we're just letting you know, we don't have a dog in this fight. We don't like cruises at all.
Put them up there on the list with owls.
Not going to catch me on a cruise. Probably not.
This did not disappoint. If you're looking for something that's under an hour to quickly watch, this is the documentary for you.
If you're trying to limit your snack intake while watching things, this is a great thing to watch.
I will second that because I very mistakenly took out a half-melted protein bar midway through, and
oh yeah, we were a good 40 minutes in, so you were...
The rest of it went in the trash.
Not doing well.
Let's set things up. An engine fire leaves 4,000 passengers stranded at sea without power and plumbing in this wild documentary about the infamous poop cruise of 2013.
2013, it feels like a lifetime ago. It was so long ago at this point.
Think about the news cycle in 2013 that poop cruise becomes the main thing that gets talked about for days on end. What a time.
There's probably poop cruises that are happening now, and they just get lost in the shuffle. There's no
knowing
media.
How many.
Yeah, and there's no media coverage that's available for that. There's just so much other stuff happening in the world right now that we're missing out on all the poop cruises. I didn't take any notes about this until we got to the day of the issue. Did we have a similar format?
No,
for that? No,
I'll be able to lead us and kick us off here.
I didn't care about any of the stuff that was going well, how perfect it was, how great and fantastic and wonderful a time everybody's having here. That didn't intrigue me. So I only have notes on the stuff that really captured my attention.
Well, the opening scene, I'm assuming, is the thing that got you ready for things to go downhill, where we see passengers using their bodies to spell out the words help on the top deck.
Using their bodies to spell out the words. Well, I mean, it was like human formations of the letters spelling help, yes. On the poop deck. I guess every deck becomes the poop deck on Poop Cruise.
This is our second nautical episode where there's a disaster that takes place. I think I'm good with staying on land for the rest of the summer. Until I forget about all this, and then...
We have to do a ferry trip in a couple of weeks. So,
we do.
We got to get ready for that. The ferry, that's a little bit less of a trek here. This is an entire cruise that's taking place. It's departing from Galveston, Texas, and going to Mexico, and then turning around and coming back. So it's like a 4-day cruise is what it's slated to be.
There are 4,000 people on board, including 1,200 crew members.
Who are all sucking and fucking below deck.
They made sure to tell us about that, which seemed a little bit irrelevant to the rest of the story.
Well, Carnival is the party line. They want you to have a good time here.
Everyone is having a good time.
Everybody's having a good time. That's the message.
We did see many episodes of Below Deck, though, so we kind of understand what's happening at a smaller scale.
But this is anything but small scale, because when you see the size of this thing with 4,000 people on it, people are describing it as a skyscraper on its side that's floating in the water. And that's essentially what this is.
takes me back to the opening scene of Titanic where you see Rose standing on the dock and then this very large CGI ship.
But this is a real one. And it's your time on the dock. It's your last time flushing for quite some time. Cherish it.
Little do they know. They don't know that yet. And we've got a lot of people on board. We meet one half of a newly engaged couple. I guess they did get married and she did not want to participate. Maybe the PTSD from Poop Cruise was just too strong.
Did they? Yeah, that's what I thought going into this. We didn't know because it was just the guy. That was all we were seeing, the one half of this couple here. And then he's talking about this trip with the in-laws, the soon-to-be in-laws. And if anything is a catalyst for a relationship ending, I would say that Poop Cruise would probably be top of the list.
Well, they say that you should always vacation with someone before you get married because their true colors come out.
It's a stressful circumstance that you can sort of test the relationship durability, I suppose.
We've done pretty well on vacations together, but how do you think Poop Cruise would have gone for us?
Not too good. Carly doesn't like to go camping because there's no toilet situation that is applicable for her, usually. Even though there are some campgrounds that have facilities there, but you might end up with a day 4 or 5 sort of interaction.
I'm just not interested. Mainly the outdoors in the woods, there are ticks. And you know how I feel about that. Boat feels much safer from that perspective. No ticks at sea.
You could still get a tick at sea.
Where? From where? Where are they living?
There are 4,000 passengers on board, so if somebody brought one on, somebody was wrestling a deer recently. Could have happened. You don't know what all these other people are doing. You don't know what their story is.
We're going to find out, that's for sure.
You don't know what they've been eating, what they've been consuming. Some people you do, because when they get on there, yeah, there's tons of food. There's food everywhere. Everybody's partaking. Everybody's enjoying copious amounts of questionable refrigerated levels of food.
And alcohol. A lot of drinks.
Yep.
We've got a group of 3 women who were there as part of a bachelorette party weekend.
It was the Woo Girls. We all know who it was. We all know the words.
They were really annoying. I understand the circumstance wasn't great, but their complaints irked me.
There were certain points where the complaining did not match for the scenario that was at hand. If you're complaining about survival rations that are on board, yeah, maybe don't bring that one up. Don't vocalize that as loudly for all to hear after the fact.
And then we have a father-daughter duo. He's newly divorced and trying to have a little bonding vacation with his daughter.
That was Larry and Becca, right?
Yeah, poor Larry, man. I think Larry was deeply affected by the Poop Cruise.
That's a lot to come back from. Well, to have a 12-year-old child on board with you, yeah, women and children first, but Larry's not on that list.
You know, it never even occurred to me that she was young.
Because she was like 25 sitting next to her? Because
I just
it's been 12
assumed she's
years?
always been this age. I didn't think.
Carly's real bad with the ages.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, forget it.
Didn't clock that.
Put a child in front of me, I can't tell you.
Couldn't tell you.
Anywhere between the ages of 6 and 12.
Close enough. Yeah, she's 12. So that's got to be scary here, given the circumstances.
But like you said, it's picture perfect. Everything's going great. Everyone's having a good time. They're enjoying the very large chess pieces on the deck. They're enjoying the open bar, the casino atmosphere, the many, many, many things that the Carnival Triumph has to offer.
And it's a good time. Smooth sailing. The weather's nice. People are enjoying their time. They get to Mexico. They hop off the ship. Everybody makes it back onto the ship. Well, they didn't say that they left anybody at port, but we know that that's a very real threat and a possibility.
That can very much happen. I know from firsthand experience with my own mother.
They've come close. They've had the luggage on the dock waiting for them.
Oh, I hope my aunt's listening to this.
Danger zone.
Almost did not get back on the ship.
But how thankful would you be if you found out that you got left at the dock? And
for this cruise in particular?
You would think that that would be the low point for you. But actually, it is a blessing in disguise because it is the return journey where stuff starts going sideways here immediately.
It's the end of day 4. That already has me concerned. This is when things start to go wrong. Day 4, also the day the Titanic sunk. First thing that would have happened in my mind when I woke up and heard sirens and alarms going off on the boat.
Alpha team alert. Alpha team alert.
Which, what the fuck does that mean?
I don't know what this
that's
means.
what everyone's hungover. It's 5:30 in the morning. They're not even supposed to be up yet. They don't know what's going on. And they did not listen to the safety briefing on day 1. So they're all extra confused and actually feeling a little inconvenienced, if you ask me.
I'm just getting generally annoyed. I can't find the snooze button on Alpha Alert blaring over the loudspeaker in my room. How do I shut this off?
I do like that the bachelorette party girls thought that there was a way to disable the ship-wide alarm that was supposed to be alerting them to presumably a very important safety issue. No?
You got to muster up. So they go to their muster groups. I didn't know what a muster group was.
I did.
Muster!
That's where all the passengers must assemble to hear their safety instructions.
Well, this is the part where you find out some of the crew are seeing smoke coming up from the drains in the kitchen.
Seems not good.
Something's amiss here. We got a few abnormal anomalies that are taking place now that we need to bring to someone's attention. So the alarms are going off. The patrons are now gathering on deck at different muster locations. There's chaos on the bridge.
They notice the whale tail on the boat is on fire.
Is that what you call it?
No, I'm pretty sure that's not its formal name. But you know how every Carnival cruise ship has the red tail?
Not the red tail. I think that's is that a Carnival specific thing?
Yeah.
Well, so not all of them, not all of the lines. I mean, like
no,
there's different
all the Carnival cruise ships
ones. Okay.
look like this.
Yeah.
Other ships, you go on Princess Cruise Lines or something, much more sophisticated, sleeker design to the ship.
Unless there's a water slide that's hanging over the edge of the ship or something that they swing out there, because they got those.
You think Captain Sandy's out here telling them to get the water toys?
Yeah,
get them over the side in the ocean.
You're gonna have to spritz up on the whale tail there and cool it off. We got some smoke. There's a good bit of fire. The red fin's on fire.
Maybe I shouldn't have complained about the alarms because it seems pretty serious. Now that we're realizing that we're all floating in the middle of the ocean, and that probably means that there's no fire company that's going to be able to get a truck out here to extinguish the ship.
You have a pretty good supply of water. Maybe you just start grabbing some buckets and just hoisting them up there. Is that going to do it? Can we get a hose sort of attachment that we just plunk it down into the ocean and start spritzing up on the whale tail?
I felt a little cheated that they didn't tell us how they got the fire out, because the fire itself, not really the biggest problem that occurs, and they're able to easily extinguish it.
Oh, the deck. Yeah, they weren't concerned about this at all in the bridge, because they were like, oh, yeah, turns out one of our engines caught on fire. But we've got 6 of those.
I think it was the generator, which is related to the power outage that then ensues.
Well, the fire with the engine burned through the power lines of the ship. So all of that electrical stuff just got completely melted and obliterated. So the power goes out, and now they're just floating, lights out, AC's off. The power is out for everything. And they're just assuming, oh, engineering should be able to go do that, because they usually just disappear for an hour. They come back and then they turn the lights back on. And then we're watching a new cabaret show by 4:00. It's no big deal.
Luann de Lesseps takes the stage. Like nothing happened.
Money can't buy you class.
That ain't going to be happening on the Triumph tonight.
Not tonight. She's been scheduled elsewhere.
How did no one realize that the toilets will not flush once they've lost electricity?
This seems like a design flaw, because on land, you don't need electricity to flush a toilet. So why would you need one on a boat? Is it because it suction draws it down, or?
Well, I would assume it's because everything's traveling to a central place. The sewage has to all be moved. It's not like in your house where it's going down one pipe. right back out the thing, you know?
Well, usually it's, gravity
There are
has a lot to do with
thousands
it.
of passenger toilets.
But it's the
and
water
cabins.
water pressure. I'll be honest with you. I don't really know how a regular toilet works. the physics and the science of it necessarily. I think it has something to do with water pressure, and then it's like the swirling that happens, and then gravity has a lot to do with it. Seems like they got a lot of gravity because these things are stacked high. These are big ass ships, and now big ass shits. That's what we got going on. That's what we have to figure out. So that seems like a big flaw of if the power doesn't work, you can't flush a toilet. So that's a very essential system that now is incapacitated the same way that your electric power is out now, too.
I'm understanding at this point, bad things happen. Shit happens.
Shit
if you will.
happens.
But it's pretty clear that the cruise line does not have a plan in place already for when something like this occurs, because Jen, who I believe was the cruise director, starts to scramble. They got to give these passengers instructions of what to do because people are going to have to go to the bathroom.
She's the voice of the ship. She is the physical embodiment of the ship. So now she has to ask the guests, please don't shit on me.
It's like Smart House.
That's what's happening. But the power's out, so it's just her now.
Are you guys loving the Disney Channel original movie callbacks?
There's plenty more
I
where
hope
that
they're
came from,
resonating for some of you.
I guess.
Yeah, well, she's got ideas. There's no instruction in the manual of what to do in this case. So let's just tell people, do pee-pee in the shower.
Number one's in the shower, because they thought first initial guess here was, oh, why don't they just go over the side? But that works for guys, not so much for the gals. You'd have risk of people going overboard here. We don't want that.
Why would they ever tell anyone to do that anyway? With the number of people who just spontaneously fall off of the sides of ships, maybe we keep people away from the railings.
You don't need people dangling their derrieres off the edge of the cruise ship to take care of this. Plus, you have the rooms stacked up. What's to say if you're on one of the lower ones and you step out to use the facilities and then you're just getting sprinkled on from all the different rooms up above you.
And that's if you're lucky enough to have a balcony.
Right?
A lot of these, there are interior rooms. You don't even have a fucking window. What are those people supposed to do?
A porthole? Nope. Can't find one. You're shit out of luck.
Well, what do you have to do if you have to do number two? Because
number two,
that's an even bigger problem. The shower took care of PPs and number ones. What are we going to do if someone has to poop?
Poops are the challenge because, the pee, go down the drain, don't have to think about it anymore. Even though I immediately thought, there's 4,000 people that you're instructing to just piss down the shower. I don't know if the shower drains are built for that capacity load that they're going to be receiving over the next few days. That's a lot of pee-pee in the shower.
No, look, I don't have a problem with doing that in an emergency situation. That wouldn't turn me off so much. I would be a little worried about the sanitary conditions when it's everybody just, openly peeing all over the bottom of the shower floor and sharing that area with each other. But they don't have to worry about that because once you hear the plan for the poop, you're going to be a lot less concerned about the shower.
The poops, we will be delivering you a very special red bag, and you will be doing number twos in the bag. Please dispose of them in the proper receptacles, which is just a trash can that you find. And we'll take care of that too.
They're biohazard bags.
Well, they have to be, yes.
Are they disposing of them in a biohazard fashion? It doesn't seem it.
I think a lot of stuff with the bags kind of went out the window pretty quick. It was a good idea in theory, not in execution, because people did not follow the instructions. People did not do what they were told with the bags. Would you have pooped in the bag, Carly? Would you have followed instructions the way that they told you to use the bag?
Look, I'm just concerned about, I need maybe an instructional video telling me how to properly do this.
I'm concerned.
I'm not accustomed
to
using a bag, so I'm not really sure what the best approach is.
Well, I think it's a sort of experiment in and of itself to
catch.
Well, you don't want to pick it up after. I don't think you want to.
See, this is the problem, though. Like, I can't even properly pee in a cup when I need to.
Well, I was worried, too. I was thinking about, there's like the shop vac that I have that has a bag, and that basically has like a condom slot that like slid over the nozzle that like the suction stuff comes in and then it goes into the bag. But that's how the bag stays on while the vacuum is sucking all this air. So it's like, do you go right up against? Or is it just like it's a big open bag and you kind of droop and hang below?
Why don't they give people a bucket to then fashion your bag over and then you poop over the bucket into the bag?
They couldn't slide a bucket under the door. And I think they wanted to do this without making direct eye contact with anyone. So they were like, we're going to bring a bag around.
Yeah.
Don't call out too much attention to it. Don't think about it too much. But I'm going to go ahead and slip it under the door. And then you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do with that on your own time, in your own way.
It's more of a logistical concern for me. Also, I would be in a rough spot because it is day 4 of the cruise. And when I travel, my body already shuts down and I stop going to the bathroom. It knows we're not in our natural habitat. We're not used to this place yet. By day 4, I might be comfortable enough to start going. And the toilets have stopped working.
So that just resets the clock.
Early in the morning, earlier than my digestive system has been able to keep up with. So probably day 1, I'm going to have to go.
Does that reset the clock, though, for you? Where now it's...
There's no, like... It's not like the floodgates are now open.
No, yeah, it's like you had a home base to work from, and now that is gone. So clock starts over again, where body shuts down until we get near another home base that we can use now.
I probably would have had to use one bag, and the rest of the time, my body would have just shut itself down.
I think I would have cleared out as much as I could in that first bag and say, I'm not doing that ever again. I'm not eating anything else for as long as I'm on the ship, because now I know the plumbing doesn't work, and now people are still going to be making me food. Are you washing your hands? Like, what's the sanitary situation now? That calls in a bunch of other stuff into question. Everyone you interact with just has pee-pee poo-poo hands.
My mind would go to, how long has the food been without refrigeration? Are they serving me something that's going to get me sick, and then I'm really going to have a bathroom emergency, and I'm going to be very, very, very unhappy and write a very strongly worded email to Carnival Cruise Lines when I get out of here.
Depending on the food situation, you might not need a bag for your number 2s very soon here. It's just going to mix in with the shower mess.
Why is it that people were concerned about finding a bathroom to use? Because that becomes a big panic for everyone.
Well, there are some folks who've been holding it, and they're holding it now because they're kind of slowly coming up with these different solutions that they're going to have, because the fire... that's been sorted out. The fire is extinguished. Now we don't have power, so we have no way to move the ship. We're just floating listlessly in the Gulf of Mexico at the time. Gulf of America now, allegedly. So they say. And so, statistically, otherwise people are going to send me a note that it's not called that anymore. So, the tugboat, that's going to be the solution here. They phone back to Mexico, or radio back, I guess, because there's no cell service either. The Wi-Fi's out. Power's out. So they radio back to Mexico and they say, hey, can you guys just pull us back to shore real quick when you get a chance? And they're like, sure, yeah, we'll send you a tugboat team. I don't know what, tomorrow? Tomorrow's good.
When we get around to it.
We're pretty busy
Not our
today.
main concern.
Yeah, not top priority. It doesn't sound like there's an immediate threat of anything going on here. You guys got plenty of food.
Do they? I don't know.
At the time, they did.
Things seem like they're getting pretty serious. So much so that the PR department is starting to work. The one guy that Carnival Cruise Lines has working for crisis communications for them.
Well, not the one guy. I think it was probably a team of people
I'm joking.
Underneath this guy.
He woke up. It's a bad day. This is your job when you work in crisis PR. Everything's good until it's not. And then it's really, 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 really not. So they're drafting a press release because they got to communicate something to get ahead of this story. And they mentioned the fire, but the fire's out. Everything's good. They failed to include anything about the fact that the 4,000 people on the boat are just floating in the middle of the water with no way to propel themselves to shore.
Well, they said they're working on solutions.
Without power.
Yes.
Quickly running out of food. And
the tugboats are coming.
Defecating everywhere.
The tugboats are coming. That's what we're getting to.
but not soon enough because the tugboats are coming tomorrow and the AC has been out all day. So the cabins get very, very, very hot by the middle of the night.
It's too hot. So people are now dragging their mattresses into the hallways, the general areas in the ship. Or were some people going up on deck too? I think
as they could drag those mattresses, they were taking them out of their rooms.
Yeah, and everybody's just going to go ahead and sleep in the hallway, sleep up on the deck, hope for the best in the morning. Day 5 kicks in 8 a.m. The tugboat should be here at noon, so just enjoy these next 4 hours as much as you can. The entire interior of the ship just smells like sickness stink at this point. There's a stench that's wafting.
Well, it's getting hotter.
The AC is off.
And they've been instructing people to go to the bathroom in their cabins and throw these biohazard bags in the trash.
The
it's
trash
just
is marinating
in the heat.
It's getting a whole other sensory experience.
Like a New York City sidewalk in the middle of summer.
That's what's happening. Yeah, it's a whole other sensory experience that's taking place here. Then we have the panic mindset that starts kicking in for the folks who are on board because they are distributing what food they can, and it is still a Carnival cruise experience that they're going for here. So when people lay out a tray of burgers, there are some people who are only grabbing one because, hey, I don't need 15 burgers to sustain me right now. I think I'll be okay. I don't want that much food.
I'm not a fucking asshole who's going to hoard all the food so that the people behind me can't eat.
Yeah, or like take this back to my hovel that I now have made in my shanty town on deck. Like, these are for my friends and our territory, and this is our spot. Everybody gets very territorial. It goes back to caveman mentality very quickly. Everyone's fighting over burgers. Everybody's fighting over the deck chairs.
There's no way I would have been consuming any meat.
Tent cities are forming.
Just give me hunks of bread. Dry bread.
Cookies or, some dehydrated foods of some kind. Something that's preserved.
Do you have anything that's prepackaged and hasn't been opened yet? Like raisins?
No, dried, preferably.
Preferably like anything that's going to back me up. I'll have a whole, just give me rice.
Rice. I just need rice. Can you make the rice though? I mean, yeah, if they have, depending on the stove. As long as it's not electric. But yeah, so we're running into food issues. I feel like that's on Carnival, though. They need to have signs out that say, hey, we're in an emergency situation. So no, you don't get to grab 15 burgers. It's one per person, and that's it.
That's, again, why I'm questioning, did they even have protocol for how you handle something like this? Because people shouldn't be allowed to be hoarding food like that. The fact that they even let them get in a line and wait is crazy. You're not just bringing food to people's rooms. Stay in your fucking room.
Nobody's in their room.
And, well, again, why are we doing that?
Well, it's way too hot.
For people who have a balcony, they should be able to stay in their room with the door open.
But
and
like
other
pee-pee.
people should be able to come up on deck.
But it stinks like pee-pee and poo-poos.
Well, that's your own fault. You told people to start peeing and pooping in their cabins.
Yeah.
Again, the plan from the beginning was bad.
It wasn't good. It was not good. It's not going well.
My favorite part was the woman, the Russian woman, who was telling us about all the sex at the beginning, who now is like, look, welcome to the Soviet Union. We expect things like this to happen.
This is what it's like living in a dictatorship.
Take your onion sandwich and don't complain. It's another day. We'll see what fresh hell we wake up to tomorrow.
Well, yeah, and now you know it's the needs of the select few who are going to throw their weight around, who grab and retain all of these resources, while everyone else gets whatever's left, scraps and crumbs. I wouldn't want to be stashing burgers in the area around where you're peeing and pooping and have no way of sanitizing anything. You're just going to get sick now, too, with your poop burger to accompany your poop bag.
E. coli.
E. coli everywhere.
Salmonella.
It's everywhere. Don't let me swab this. But help is on the way. The sister ship Legend arrives.
I don't know that it so much arrives as it was going to the same destination that this ship went to yesterday.
It just happened to be passing by.
So it just passes by. And what do? They're not pulling people off the ship. This is not the Carpathia. We are just going to send the tender out
to send more burgers.
Smash into the side of the boat and deliver, I don't know, more biohazard bags.
I think it was probably poop bags and then a lot of food because, we need to pump these people up with more food so they shit in the bags and fill them to capacity. That's the goal now.
The bachelorette party girls are very, very upset by this because they can see the people on the other ship having a really fun time. They're on the water slides. They're in the pool. They're gawking at all of them like they're freaks stuck on this boat.
Well, I love how Smart House Mom was like, you could get people from one ship to the other ship, but it's a whole lot of work because you have to do like these small little trips with the tender where you're going back and forth and you're hauling people off of the one boat into the tender and then you're slodging your way over to the other boat and you got to pull them out. And it's a whole logistical thing.
I think that's bullshit. I bet you that Carnival Corporate told them that in no circumstance should they let anybody off of the ship and onto another one because they're afraid that if there was an accident that they would get sued.
Look at me. I'm the captain now. Okay, I would be on a tender at this point.
I would be lowering the lifeboats. I'm getting the fuck off this thing.
They have lifeboats. Why? I would say there's plenty of risk on board right now. Let me take my chances. Come on.
I'm just going to follow the legend to whatever port it's going to.
Yeah, just hook a line on the back of that thing and just pull me to shore, okay? That's all I need. That's all I'm asking. But instead, the folks on the Triumph? Is that what we were saying? Okay, yeah, the Triumph.
It's very triumphant. They're getting a Wi-Fi signal off the other boat.
Legendary. So they are calling their loved ones back ashore and letting them know it's real bad. It hasn't even gotten like too bad. I mean, like there's a smell right now, but there's not like shit everywhere and piss everywhere. It's not that terrible yet. It is wildly uncomfortable, not very sanitary. The mentality's kind of teetering on the edge here. So we're like right on the cusp of it getting really bad, and they're able to check in with their loved ones. And now the story's kind of picking up some speed.
Because nobody knew the conditions on the boat. They just knew that there was a fire and that what they were being told was all is good. And now the passengers themselves are communicating and saying, it ain't that good.
Not so good. Not under control. Not happening. Not having a good time either. And so now CNN's getting interested because they read the press release, the initial one that came out. Nothing juicy there. Nothing interesting. Now they're getting some juicy details from the family members who are calling in. So local news is picking up on it. CNN's picking up on it. They're going to run with this now.
You know what's funny? The fact that the PR department sent out a press release about the fire actually put this on a lot of the radars of the news stations that eventually picked it up.
Well, I think initially.
So it's kind of their own.
Well, no, I mean, like you have to put out a statement initially.
Well, I'm sure what they're doing is they're going through all of the press releases that they're receiving and they're looking for a story. And this one kind of got put on the back burner. It's somewhat interesting, but it seems like whatever happened is already over.
And it's under control.
They're learning it's an evolving situation.
Yeah, it keeps going. So now the PR nightmare is spinning up here. And you're getting lots more eyes on this story because then this when we meet Frank, the maritime lawyer. He smells something here when he starts hearing about this story too. But it's not shit.
He smells money.
It's money. It's opportunity. Yeah, that's what he smells.
He smells a class action lawsuit and he's getting excited.
So he's ready. Meanwhile, the update on the Triumph is that the Tugboat has let them know, hey, bad news, because the Tugboat was coming from Mexico. You guys, in the amount of time that has passed, have drifted 100 nautical miles, and you are now closer to the United States. So we can't tow you back to Mexico.
Not our problem anymore.
We got to send this shitstorm to Mobile, Alabama, which it's going to take longer to tow them there. It's going to add 3 days, 2 to 3 days of towing.
Maybe if you're lucky, you'll just keep drifting that direction.
You'll probably just bump into Florida at some point, and you'll just spill out onto land.
They don't care. They're washing their hands of this. Get out of here.
So the issue that now arises is that with the tugboat operation that is underway here, the showers aren't draining because there's so much piss. And so
the pipes are just full. They're backed up.
It's full. It's not going down anymore. It's just lingering and staying in the shower.
How many people do you think shit in the shower drain?
There was probably some clogs.
I guarantee people did that.
But do you think they like hosed it down or something? Because then you have poo-poo in the shower, and then is that just going to stop it up? It had to have gotten into the drain, clogged some drains, and then backed it up for a bunch of other rooms then, too, I'm assuming. So was it
I don't trust other people's judgments, so that would be the most terrifying thing about being in this scenario for me.
Okay, so that's the stage that's set, is now these showers are at maximum capacity because they're not draining, the pee-pee's not going down. Now they start towing with the tugboats, and the ship kind of lists and lurches, and now all the pee-pee's spilling out. That's what happened with the tugboat. When they start towing, now you're moving the ship in a direction, you're pulling it, and the pee-pee just starts spilling out. So now there's just like waterfalls of piss that are just pouring around in the common areas. You're just hearing all of this brown water splatter about.
It's kind of like The Shining where the elevator doors open.
Yeah. It's exactly like that, but with the poo-poo.
You're right. It's not kind of like that. It is that. That's what's happening.
That is what happened.
And the unfortunate thing is they had opened the bar the day before because it was someone's bright idea to start giving these people alcohol because they just had to give them some bad news that the tugboat's going to add another 3 days onto this trip. That was originally supposed to be 4 days, and we're now on like day 6?
Yeah, we're coming up on day 6 here. This is end of day 5. So day 5 was, the party was kicking back off again because Carnival, they're supposed to be the fun cruise line. So we got to open up the bar. That's the best thing that you can do in this scenario when you have territorial, hangry shantytown people on deck. Let's get them loaded up with liquor. Nothing bad can happen from that.
We won't make people irate. We won't get people who just become completely out of control, and there's no way for anyone to communicate if there's a serious situation that takes place on board, an emergency, if you will. There won't be people pissing over the sides of the ship because who cares at this point? I'm wasted.
You got people throwing poop bags off deck that are blowing back in to the ship and landing on other people's decks below them.
Also, how dare you throw your biohazard bag into the ocean where it's going to get wrapped around a turtle? You animal.
I don't think it's gonna. The turtle is probably not the top. Well, I mean, yeah, the plastic bag.
Pick your marine animal.
Okay, yeah.
Your dolphin, your whale.
It's just going to drift out into the huge plastic island that's out in the Pacific at some point.
It's
right?
going to choke a whale. And I hate you for that.
Okay. We've got newlywed couples just fucking on deck chairs. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's going on.
Honestly, this is probably the worst thing that they've done to this point because it is a safety concern.
There's some debauchery that's happening now. There's fights that are breaking out. So they decide, all right, let's close the bar. And as soon as they said that, we thought that's going to cause an even bigger uproar because now you were giving away free alcohol and now you are taking that away from people. They're going to get extra upset.
I'm surprised that they didn't end up captaining the ship themselves after this.
It didn't happen. So 3 p.m., tugboats arrive. That's when the lift and shift.
The sewage is everywhere.
The poo-poo pee-pees.
It's just people. It is. It's
the
like
weather's
the Titanic.
getting bad.
They're jumping off their bunk and there's water down here.
Splish splash.
It's not water.
It's not ocean water.
You're going to wish you were on the Titanic.
Yeah, that's not it. The weather's getting bad. It's just, this is terrible now. So it's day 6. The 24-hour news cycle catches wind of this because how could you not?
How could you not smell it?
You're downwind from it, so you're bound to find out about it here. This story is completely running wild now. They have infectious disease specialists on air. They have lawyers, psychologists. They're going through all these different angles. They are talking about it nonstop. Frank, the lawyer, is digging up all these reports about this ship that should have never been out to sea with paying customers on it with all these fuel line issues.
Yeah, it turns out the fire was not really much of a surprise because this ship has had similar things happen to it in the past.
Oh, it's happened often. Not just with this ship, but with the whole Carnival fleet.
They're just spontaneously combusting in certain areas of the ship.
It's not out of the ordinary. It only takes diesel.
the church services start. That's where I would have been really scared.
Oh, yeah, because this is where, it's complete misery on board. People have lost track of what day, what time it is. It's now day 7. Everyone's trapped on this ship. They feel like prisoners. They're getting cabin fever. How could it get any worse? Someone decides to start holding church services. So this is officially my nightmare.
I feel bad for them. They've given up. They're not organized enough to find a way out of this themselves. And so they're just hoping and praying that someone comes to save them off of this poopy ship.
This is where we kind of realize, yes, with the connection to religion, it's in those circumstances where all hope is lost. And the only thing that you have to cling to, aside from your poopy vessel, is a higher power here.
I have to tell you, though, I would feel kind of bad praying about my circumstance that I am so upset that I am trapped on a boat without indoor plumbing, that that's my biggest concern in life. It's been a couple days.
Carly, if you were on that ship, I don't think we would be on that ship for too long. We wouldn't be here on day 7. I
wouldn't be having a good time. But you know what got me was everyone trying to find a private place to go to the bathroom. And that's not the way history retells itself. If you know anything about the history of Versailles, people used to just piss and pee in the corners.
Piss and pee?
Piss and
poop. In the corners?
All the bowel movements
Pissing
would take place in the corners of rooms. And I think that we can embrace that part of our history and just get used to it again.
You want to start shitting in the corners? I don't want to be here for that.
If they had to do it,
no.
I think that we can all overcome the social stigmas.
I think it's a time where it's Imodium AD, yes.
No,
Block
I would
me
be
up.
so afraid that I would give myself an issue in my bowels and I'd become backed up and I'd have to go get emergency surgery.
So don't OD on the AD, but just a reasonable amount, according to the medicine guidelines there, to just help you hold it a little bit longer than you normally would have.
I guess the prayers pay off because day 8, they're approaching the dock. And the bad news for Carnival...
the prayers don't have anything to do with it. They're already being tugged to Mobile, Alabama. You're on your way. You know it's going to be a couple of days just because, yes, there's a travel time on the tugboat.
They've said that before to them, and it hasn't worked out. So At this point, I don't think you can trust anything that the official communications are telling you.
But they know they're getting close because they're seeing more planes, helicopters, media coverage is swarming about 30 miles outside of the coast. And so they know they're getting close to the finish line here.
Because it's a PR catastrophe.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
And everyone is interested in getting the firsthand account from these customers the minute they get off of the boat. Now, another move that I'm surprised did not take place. Maybe it's because there was no way to receive a Word document or a PDF or to print anything on board. But I would assume if this happened today, they would make every single one of those passengers sign an NDA before they get off the boat.
And I wouldn't be signing it. I'd say, you've already had me on here for 8 days. Send the cameras in. They'll come on board.
What if TikTok existed in 2013?
Oh, man. Yeah, this would be a different story. Didn't we had something like this, though. It was during COVID where there was that ship that was stuck where they could see land. They were there, but they weren't able to port.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the World Cruise.
Oh, no.
Remember that one, too, that everybody was obsessed with?
Yeah, they were tracking that. No, I was thinking about right at the beginning of quarantine, where then everybody was locked in their rooms, but at least they still had power and stuff. So it was, people were quarantining on a cruise ship and they couldn't dock because they were in transit between wherever they were going and they would not be received at port because nobody wanted to have 4,000 people from another country just unload during quarantine.
Not the same as this situation.
Not the same. Well, I feel like that was, in a weirder way, that was more of a psychological battle. This was like a battle with the elements.
This is everything you can imagine.
This is a little bit of everything. I feel like the quarantine one, the COVID one, would have been worse because you could see land. You can see the port. You're just not allowed to go over there. You're just stuck on the boat.
I don't know. That might be comforting to me.
At least
I'm not that far.
Yeah, you can. There is some comfort there. It would just be very tempting to just go ahead and make a shot. Just go for it. I seize an opportunity. I'm going to take it.
It's a little anticlimactic when they get off of the ship because the passengers who you would assume would be very, very, very upset about what took place instead are very complimentary of the crew.
The crew were credited with a superhuman effort. I'm sure none of them received raises. No one received hazard pay or bonuses.
Some probably got laid off a few months later.
Most likely, yeah, due to the backlash that happened here and the resulting refunds that took place. But I think there was a valuable lesson here for Larry and his daughter that as shitty as divorce is, this cruise was shittier. Probably.
This poor man was just trying to do something fun with his kid to cheer her up in the face of a big life change.
Well,
and what a memory.
Here's something else for you to process and think about and deal with instead, okay? You don't have to worry about all those pesky emotional problems. Let's get some real trauma instilled into you.
Unfortunately for the lawyer who was foaming at the mouth to get a class action lawsuit, I guess they didn't need the NDAs because turns out when everybody purchased their ticket to get on this ship, part of the agreement was that you pretty much can't sue Carnival for basically anything.
Yeah, poor Frank. He was like, man, who reads the terms and conditions on stuff? That's some shit, huh? But I think this was the point where we were arguing that would be due to maritime tragedies or things that, like if there were something that happened that damaged the ship, they weren't able to ensure safe passage and like all those stipulations that they had. I think that was as part of departing and then being on the open sea. There's no guarantees of what might take place in that circumstance. I think our argument was if you are negligent to a bunch of mechanical failures that would cause fires that lead to this sort of scenario taking place, that makes you liable as a company. Then you're responsible for the safety.
The legal question.
I would argue that. And I think Frank probably tried to argue that because all of his cases settled. So I'm sure he was able to spin something up along those lines.
They got a little extra something, huh? Because Carnival did end up giving everyone a full refund. They paid for their transportation expenses because they ended up in Mobile, Alabama, which was not supposed to be their final destination to get home. They all got a $500 payment, which I don't feel like was really enough.
$500.
And then offered a free cruise for those of you who just can't wait to do this with us again.
It probably won't be like these last few days. It'll be like the first 3 days, okay? If you can remember the first 3 days and how much fun we all had, come on back for another round of that.
It'll probably be like that.
Most likely, it'll be like that. Unless you end up riding on the Carnival Sunrise, which turns out, spoiler alert, Carnival spent $115 million cleaning, remodeling, sanitizing, allegedly, the Triumph and renamed it the Carnival Sunrise. And so this boat is still in commission. You can see it out in the wild. You can book a ticket for it.
There is nothing that would get me on that ship.
I don't want to be anywhere near this thing. I feel like I'm going to get pink eye just looking at it.
I feel like the PR department was busy thinking about that. What are we going to do next? We're going to have to rename this ship. People are never going to want to get on it again. And they didn't worry about everything else that was currently happening on the boat and how they were going to respond to all of those issues.
Well, they didn't know that all of these issues were currently amassing and compounding in complexity here.
They knew.
They knew. They knew every bit of it.
They knew every single thing that was happening.
I wish they would have come up with a more applicable name for the rename of the ship, though. To call it the Sunrise, I feel like that was just...
brighter days ahead.
Yeah, a rebirth.
Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, as Robin Brown would say.
But this was a phoenix rising from the asses. So that is the difference.
If you're about to get on a Carnival cruise this summer,
check your ticket.
You can relax a little bit because they have changed their terms and conditions. They removed a lot of those caveats about having things like wholesome food on board, the expectation of sanitary conditions, safe passage in a seaworthy vessel. Some of the things that were questionable in the terms and conditions they couldn't really promise you, they've gone ahead and removed those things.
They're going to try their best to guarantee those things, but they don't have it in writing.
Oh, I took this as this was opening the door to be able to sue them for these things not being delivered on. You're saying that they made the terms and conditions more on their side?
No, yeah, that's what I was getting at. Was like it's
read the fucking terms and conditions before you buy a ticket.
They used to say we can't be held responsible for any of this stuff.
Yeah,
and they would list off providing wholesome food on board.
So did they remove
adequate living conditions?
Okay, here's my theory: they removed those things because they were very specific, and instead they've left it vague because whatever they settled on in those other lawsuits was probably stuff that wasn't explicit in the terms and conditions.
That could have been it.
Because I don't think they're doing anything to help the passengers, honey.
No, this is to cover their asses and prevent future losses.
Would you go on a cruise after this?
Not a fan. I mean, I know plenty of people who do go on cruises and they go regularly and they have a good time. Cruise isn't really my vibe. Cruise isn't where I like to be. I don't like to be out in the middle of the ocean. I don't like to be on big, huge spaces. Every time they kept showing the footage of the pool and what that looked like with all the people and the sounds that were happening at that time and the water parks and the water slide, I'm not interested in any of that. I would not be partaking in any of that. So I would just be sitting in a room on a boat alone with a bunch of noise. I don't want to be doing that.
I would never be able to stop thinking about the fact that I am this little speck on top of this very large vessel just floating in the middle of the infinite ocean. That would be on my mind at all points in time. I don't think I could ever relax.
I don't think it feels better going with a smaller vessel, though. Like, I mean, I feel like a bigger vessel is good. I want a big, empty vessel. That's what I want.
You just want a vacation without the people.
Yeah, like a private yacht would be nice. That's why it's never going to happen for me. It's not in the cards.
A few announcements before we go. If you want to hear more from us, be sure to check us out over on The Sister Wives Professor, where we're chatting with Dr. Adam about Welcome to Plathville this week.
We are patiently awaiting the return of Welcome to Plathville. That'll be happening later in July. So stay tuned for that. We'll be recapping, season 7?
Every moment of it.
In its entirety here.
And if you're saying, fuck the Plaths, I'm interested in other content, but not necessarily them, we've got hundreds of episodes for you to enjoy over on our Patreon.
If you're saying fuck the Plaths, then maybe you're Veronica, maybe you're Olivia. We've got plenty of stuff over on the Patreon, patreon.com/survivingpod. Check the description for the link.
Link in bio.
Link in bio. Lincoln Park.
Thanks for listening. See you next time.